Well, good morning. We're going to bring this Reinvestment Zone number 4 meeting to order. First of all, I'd like to just welcome everyone. I believe we have 3 different groups or 3 different areas where everybody's at.
We have some people calling in and then some people in the executive session room and in the staff conference room.
Okay.
That's a big group.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Mrs. Werter, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Everett Roy.
Present.
Board members Steve Banta. Mr. Banta. Okay. Roland Barrera. Here. Barbara Canales. Absent. Rudy Garza.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo. Absent. Gail Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Joe McComb.
Here.
Carrie Robertson Meyer.
Here.
Ben Molina.
Here.
Tom Schmidt. Mr. Schmidt? No? Carol Scott.
Here.
Hi, this is,
Oh, was that Mr. Schmidt?
no, I'm sorry. This is Brent Chesney. I apologize.
Oh, okay. Mr. Chesney, yeah, you're in the next meeting. Okay.
Oh, am I not on this one? I'm sorry.
No, sir, not yet. That's 2. That'll be at,
Okay, thank you.
yes, sir, it'll be at 9:30. Greg Smith?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Greg Smith? Is absent. Carolyn Vaughn? Oh, there's Greg. Okay.
Here. Here.
And Ms. Vaughn is here. Okay, we do have a quorum to conduct the meeting.
Okay. The first thing are the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing that there's none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes are approved.
And just for the record, Chairman Roy, there was no public comment received.
Oh, thank
So
you.
no public comments were received.
Okay, we do not have a financial report. And today there is no executive session. So that brings me to our presentation item, which is a presentation of the proposed FY 2021 Reinvestment Zone budget.
Good morning, board members. Eddie Houlihan with the Office of Management and Budget. We have a couple of slides here, but while they're bringing those up, this is the first year of revenue for this area. The base value for the property in the zone is $104,861,392. And the preliminary values that we received from the appraisal district at the end of April was $110,532,410, or an increase of $5,671,000, or 5.4%, based on the preliminary values that we received from the appraisal district. And we'll be getting certified values toward the end of July, about July the 25th. So the first page here is just a small amount of revenue from that increase over the base value for each of the participating entities, for total revenues of $68,481. Down in the expenditure section, the North Beach activity is for creation, which we have some detail of that on the next page, but the expenses to create the fund and the drainage study by urban engineering, and so that'll be paid back over a couple of years, and then a small amount for general fund administrative support, $27,534, or total expenditures of $64,000, leaving a fund balance of $4,230. For the next slide, that has a little bit of detail on the creation expenses. This is just the detail, the staff time, like I said, the largest amount there is the $24,000 for the drainage study by urban engineering, which will be repaid in the second year, in year 2022. So the total creation in drainage study expenses a little over 119,000. Then there at the bottom is a box with the staff time, development services spent some time, city manager's office, of course, finance staff to set the fund up, legal, city secretary, and planning. So that's all I have. I'll stand by for any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? So I have a question. I want to make sure, and so the urban engineering project, will be paid over a 2-year period. It should be completed in you said 2021?
I don't have the information on exactly when that. We're paying it back.
That one, yeah, that study was done already. That's the
Yeah.
one
Yeah, the
that,
study was done.
Yeah.
And we pay a portion every month, or do we just,
the bill is paid, but this repays the original funding source out of the city's budget, wherever we funded it from. I don't have that this morning. It probably came from a capital project.
Yeah,
Did it?
we'll repay that back in 2022.
Yeah.
2022?
Yeah, assuming that we have value increases and things continue as planned, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question whenever,
Yes,
okay. So I was unaware as the community member that.
Can
the
you
city was
identify
going to
yourself?
go back. Huh?
can you identify yourself?
Oh, sorry, yeah. This is Carrie Meyer with, I'm the community member from North Beach. And I guess I was unaware that the city was going to go back in time and start repaying itself for previous expenditures that they've made on North Beach. I didn't see that anywhere in the December TIRZ, literature that I was reading, but apparently that is the case, correct?
Yeah, Eddie and I were just talking, so Chairman, according to Arlene, there was some word amongst was it the TIRZ members or?
TIRZ board.
The TIRZ board that there would be a repayment. And it's an option.
Okay, so I'm on the TIRZ board, and when was it that we said that?
I need to go back and specifically look at the email and see what exactly that it said.
Because I was just my understanding of this was that this was a fund to start accruing money to use for projects in the future. And I think most people think that. So if it's that we're going to go back in time and start repaying the city for things that the city has already done for North Beach retroactively, that to me doesn't seem the way that it was written, and I question that. And I have a few other questions too.
Yeah.
Chairman Roy, I have to agree with Carrie Myers on that. I don't recall having any discussion about retroactively doing this, considering it was a review of drainage. It should have been under the auspices of the utility of stormwater. I don't know how this got turned back into the TIRZ, and I don't remember having that discussion, so I concur with Carrie.
Okay, I was going to ask, I do not remember it coming in front of the TIRZ board and having a discussion on this either. So I'd like to go ahead and make sure that we can go back and research this and maybe look at our past notes, but I don't recall it either.
Okay, absolutely.
I have another question. Go ahead, sorry.
This is Carolyn Vaughn. I too agree with you, Carrie. I don't recall that at all, and I think that should have been under the stormwater too. I mean, that should be done for every area in the city, and you can't go back on things that have been done and try and put it on the TIRZ when my understanding of the TIRZ is for projects in the future. So I agree with you completely, and I'd like for them to show us proof where they said that was done. Thank you.
We'll research that.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. It looks like the revenues from the county and Del Mar are being used by the city to pay the city back. And it seems to me that those funds that came from outside the city taxes should stay in the TIRZ until the city's tax values can rise to a certain amount that, it seems like it's robbing Peter to pay Paul on that. And also like down here on the very bottom where I guess it's line 60010, transfer to general funds. What is that, like, transfer to the general fund? What exactly does that pay for?
General fund support received from legal, anything the city secretary, the time from the city manager's office, management and budget time, the planning department. It's a study done by a third party.
Okay.
Yeah, Carrie, this is Peter Zanoni. So in all our non-general fund operations like this TIRZ fund, or take our airport fund or water fund, general fund employees who do work for those operations, to include things like payroll, legal services, purchasing, analytics by staff that work on the TIRZ. There's a recovery cost mechanism, and so there's a charge that's assessed to every fund where non-general fund employees, or general fund employees, do work for the operation. So it's kind of it's considered an overhead cost, or an indirect cost is another word that's used for it. But it pays for you don't really see them, but it's all the work that's done. Things like posting the agenda, the secretary's time to help set up the meeting, printing, binding, analytical services, legal services, payroll, and on. Yeah, so that's what those charges are. It's based, though, on an actual timesheet and analytics that's performed by an outside firm, and it looks at the prior 12 months to schedule a charge for the next 12 months. It's pretty common in the business, and we use it for grants as well. But if I can add just one more thing, Chairman, I'm in agreement with the conversation so far in terms of going back for that urban study. What we're relying on is language that's in the project plan and finance plan that says the TIRZ will pay for startup costs, but that probably is not a justifiable one for that language, the drainage study. That really wasn't part of the TIRZ setup, so we can take that out for sure. And we'll see about what other project costs may be in there. One-time startup cost. It's laid out in the finance project plan, that statement that the TIRZ will pay for startup costs. We just need to define what that is, but I think we can agree that the urban engineering report really is immaterial to that.
Okay.
And then I have one more
Excuse
thing
me.
is that, the project financing plan that was passed on December 9th.
Excuse me
That,
for a moment. Carrie, can you do me a favor so we can keep order? Because we cannot see you, can you just request, since I can't see you, to be called on? Just say, Carrie, I have a question, and then let me make sure that there's no other
Going
questions.
on with what we were talking about with line 60010, I have another point.
Okay, go ahead, thank you.
Okay, with the transfer to the general fund, I was wondering where in that project and financing plan it states that it anticipates transfers to the general fund. Like, I don't remember seeing anything. I know that we had to pay the city back for its efforts to set up the TIRZ, but is this, I guess I just didn't see where in the plan it said that, and moving forwards, is this an annual fee that's going to be applied to the TIRZ every year, 27,000, or is it going to be more? Like, what can we anticipate?
My understanding,
Annual or what?
my understanding that it's an annual fee. I know that the other TIRZ 3 and the other TIRZ operate the same way, is that?
Yeah, Chairman, I have a response. So in the plan, section 4B, Carrie, administrative costs is 4, and then B is administration. The plan called for $2 million over the life of the TIRZ, and it says that the zone funds shall pay for the city's cost of ongoing administration of the zone, including but not limited to accounting, legal services, document production and maintenance, and other administrative costs. These costs are estimated at $100,000 per year for the 20-year life of the zone. So 20,000 is the, I mean, 100,000 is, you know, when we get the thing fully up and running, so this 27 is kind of a first year payment.
And, City Manager, I'd also like to interject that TIRZ 2 spent $115,000 annually for their administration also. So again, I just wanted to bring to the members that are, or the board members that are not familiar with this process, that it is standard with all the TIRZ that are being managed.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions on the budget?
Yes, I had a question about 13901, TIF 4 North Beach activity.
Okay, and your question?
What activities is it that the TIRZ is anticipated to pay for?
Yeah, pull up the slide on the budget again, the 36,007. There we go. Yeah, and the next page has the detail of that. There's a workshop on October the 15th, and some costs for posting the public hearing. And the largest part of it is staffing time, which is listed there at the bottom.
So is that also what we can expect pretty much yearly or quarterly, or
No.
that 36,000? How can we expect that in the future?
No,
To continue, or?
in the future, you're only going to see the general fund administrative charge, which, like I said, is done by a third party. That city manager mentioned was budgeted at approximately $100,000 a year, $2 million over the life of the TIRZ.
Yeah, if I can add to that, Chairman, so again, in that section 4, administrative costs of the project plan.
The second one, right? No, I'm still on, but
I'm sorry, somebody's mic is on. Can y'all
Excessive
mute your
charge.
mics if you're not speaking? Thank you.
Okay, so section 4A, creation, it says 250,000 was the estimated budget. Zone shall reimburse the city for city incurred expenses related to the cost of creating the zone. So most likely, those charges will only be seen this fiscal year because the zone's created now. So the good news is they estimated 250,000, but the actual charge is, what was it again on that?
119,000, a little over 119.
No, it was less than that. Just the administrative costs.
Oh.
We're going to take out the urban engineering. Like
35,000. 120 minus 50, about 70,000
Can they pull up that sheet again,
without
please?
the urban engineering.
Yeah, so it's, the next page. So you can see it's 36,717. So that's the charge, 36,717. There's nothing to be deducted out of that. But that's the real cost. Estimated cost was 250 in the project plan. So that'll just be for 1 year, Carrie.
So you can just see that it's a bit disheartening to end up with $4,000 after, I guess as a community member, I really didn't know how much the city was going to swallow, so, of all this. So it's just a bit disheartening to see the numbers.
Well,
That's all.
thank you for your input. Are there any other questions?
This is Carol Scott. I do not have that second page, the creation expenses and drainage study, the one that's showing on right now. So I don't know if it was an add-on, but that is not included in my packet. So I would appreciate that information being shared with the board so that I can show it to our folks as well.
We'll make sure you get that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was me making noise. This is Barbara Canales. I'm sorry, but that's what I was requesting too, was another copy of the agenda because I didn't remember seeing it. So forgive me for making the noise, but that's exactly my comment as well, that I didn't have it.
I think it might be good just across the board that we make sure that we publish the original, for those that don't have a copy, the outline of the formation of the TIRZ, and then as well as these documents. That way, if anybody has any further questions, that you could be able to read up on everything that was in the proposal and the costs related to the TIRZ, and then we could bring that up for future agenda items. Is there anything else related to the financial report.
It's actually the
Oh, the
presentation on the
presentation,
budget.
excuse me.
yes.
The budget.
Well, I have a suggestion for what we could do to make it more clear. If we could see a written plan of the administrative charges moving forwards so that the board can have a clear projection of the administrative costs. And, to know how the city's calculating these costs in the first few years. I think that would, to anticipate that instead of just, wow, there it is.
Right.
That would help.
Well, and this is Barbara Canales, and to that point, really, I mean, as you said, Manager Zanoni, these are costs that are certainly in the norm for TIRZ. So I'm not questioning whether it's appropriate, but when you see the CCREDC for $6,400, when the city of Corpus Christi allocates, $700,000 each year, surely that's somewhat of a stretch in my mind. That doesn't apply there. That's why would you appropriate $6,400? Where is the detail there, and why didn't that get waived or absorbed from the dollars that are already allocated? I can understand if it's above and beyond what they are doing in the normal course of business that took them out, but my last recollection of the CCRADC is that they actually were not even that supportive of this project.
Yeah, Judge, thank you. Chairman, I have a response. So thank you, Judge, for those comments. So that money was a one-time charge for a study that was specifically conducted by an outside party through the EDC for the Blackard, one of the development projects, the hotel. So it was a one-time fiscal economics type study that was done. It's not to pay for Ian or his staff time, but rather it was for the outside consultant to study one of the development proposals by Blackard. And then another point is that the EDC contract that we have has no wording in there that they will work on any TIRZ related analysis. That could be amended in the future, but in the big picture, the big concept, I agree that $6,000 charge is really, when we're paying them $700,000. However, those dollars were specifically attributed to a study, so it may be more justifiable given those conditions.
Understood about the study. That one is a double ouch for me because that was the study that said there would be no economic impact if we basically put, a $40 million hotel. Do y'all remember that one? That one is a double ouch, but you're right. It was an outside study, and so I stand corrected. Hate to pay for stuff that absolutely makes the case against us, but you're right about that. So thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments on the budget?
Mr. Chairman, I got
Yes.
a question back here. Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Roy?
sir. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Mr. Garza?
There's a final note at the bottom of the page that's got the breakdown. It says the city will participate 100%. And it's at no time will the city's contribution exceed it looks like $20 million. Is there a cap on any of the other TIRZ? I just want to make sure that we're treating all the TIRZ the same.
No, this would be, the Chairman, if you don't mind, I can answer that. So it's
Yes.
Peter. The response, Councilman, is that all the other TIRZs that were approved by the council did not have a cap on them. However, the policy presented and that was endorsed by the council on this one was a $20 million cap. That was clear on the get-go from the staff's recommendation. So it has a maximum participation level. And that was somewhat in response to, which is normal in a city when there's more and more and more TIRZ, it becomes a question of how can we get some of those dollars for general fund expenses. If you start allocating all your growth to specific TIRZs, it's tough to fund operating services that benefit the whole city, like police, fire, streets, and so on. So that $20 million cap was a policy recommendation to help alleviate some of that. And
Well, why don't we go ahead and put that cap on the rest of the TIRZ, on the other TIRZ?
you could, the council.
If that's a concern, why don't we do that? It just seems to me like we have to have some consistency in whatever direction we're going to take and put it across the board. I got no problem as long as all the TIRZ are created equally.
It's a policy choice, Councilman, and the council can certainly consider that, and we can provide analysis if the council desires.
That'd be
That's
great.
something- Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments related to the budget? Seeing that there's no additional questions, I'd like to go ahead and to identify future agenda items. Yes, Chairman Smith? Board Member Smith?
Thank you. I'd like an update on the status of the Fraser Hotel at our next meeting, please.
Okay, an updated status on the Fraser Hotel. Any other future agenda items? Seeing
I'd
that-
like to, I have one, Councilmember Roy.
Okay,
I'd like to see a written plan of the administrative charges moving forward so the board can have a clear projection of the administrative costs.
yes, I think, as mentioned earlier, I think that will be supplied, but as well as for those that haven't had an opportunity or didn't save the overall structure of the TIRZ, to be able to supply that information so that you can go back and reread.
That will be good. Thank
So-
you.
Okay. Any other
Mr. Chair.
further future
Yes.
agenda items?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Barbara Canales for Nueces County would like to request a presentation on CDBG mitigation grant opportunity for drainage that would impact North Beach. We seek to put forth a $10 million grant. It's a 100% grant. And we would love to have the opportunity to have our grants department come and present to the TIRZ, and then hopefully that would serve as a catalyst, possibly even for a letter of support.
Okay.
And Judge, Chairman, if you don't mind, if I can add, this is Peter again. Is that the one that I supported you with on a letter, Judge?
Let me make sure, am I off mute? Yes.
Oh, no, that,
No, Peter, that's
Okay.
another one, but that's another good
Yeah.
one too. Can we add that as
Okay.
well? So just call it overall presentation by groups on multiple grants. One is one that Peter supported, but still probably, don't you think, Peter, that this board would take interest in it? And that is a Texas Water Development Board grant, 25% grant that has to do with drainage as well. So those could be presented at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Any other future agenda items? Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone's participation today, especially not being able to be face-to-face and cooperating and working together. I also want to thank everyone for their input. I think it's important that, especially in the beginning of structuring this TIRZ, that we're comfortable in the board as we continue to go forward to make sure that there's good communication. So I want to thank everyone for their input today. Seeing that there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.